Joana, congratulations on a fantastic show. Tell me how someone who makes such gorgeous, flamboyant and female works prepared for exhibiting in this flamboyant and extravagant building.
Well, when Enrique Juncosa invited me, first of all, I was really happy because I felt that finally I was being part of a place that can handle these large sculptures and they are used to it. So I was quite happy because I said, oh, finally, or again, I'm going to be able to do a great show, which I haven't been able to do before, which is to put all these pieces together, because the context was to generate a dialogue between the pieces that we haven't done in previous shows. And so the idea was to put in all this big room, all the pieces in dialogue to each other, which we've tried as much as we could because of the sound. Some of them had to be inside of their own room. But the truth was that I never had done this before, which is to put all the pieces together in one room.
How did the architecture of the building inform the sculpture you've created for the atrium?
Well, the good thing about this show was that I got to do a site-specific piece for the atrium regarding to the architecture of Getty. So I had to study it, I had to come here, and then this piece is tailor-made, which means that it was designed here for the space and in connection with the space, generating a dialogue with the architecture, between sculpture and architecture, as the Serra does in his room. So in a way, I just followed the steps that they took before me and tried to generate this dialogue between the sculpture and the building.
There was something you were saying in the press conference this morning, though, that you were working with the architects who are on your team to look at the spiral that Gary was inspired by in creating the building.
Yeah.
And this fantastic creature has emerged who seems to kind of flirt and shimmy and sort of entice you into every corner of the building. I had to go right up to the top and experience her in every corner.
Yes, the idea is that the beauty of this building is has a lot of details, which is little balconies, pathways, places where you actually have a window. And the idea was, when I went around traveling in this place or experiencing this place, I found out these gaps between walls and this kind of angles that are not pursued at first, but then when you go around, you just understand that Getty made a lot of details as you look into the space. So I took advantage of that, and I've designed my piece in connection with that emptiness that he left, which gives you specific angles and views over the space. So I did, by doing my piece, I also used those angles, and so actually when you go around the building, you discover the piece bits and bits and bits. So it's a kind of a patchwork. You never really see the whole thing, but you discover the piece. Like in architecture, you never see it all. You have to experience the space, to live in it, to travel in it. And so that's what I've tried to transport from the architectural world into sculpture.
Tell me about this fantastic work you're standing next to, The Bride, a chandelier made of tampons.
It was done in 2001, and in 2005 went to the Arsenale, to the first Venice Biennale curated by women, Rosa Martinez. And so I was in the Arsenale with her. This was the first piece at that Biennale. And so the truth is, it's a piece that made a statement towards the world. And so it's still today my pièce de résistance, which means it's the most important thing. And the truth, it keeps on being very contemporary and very present in everyday's discussion in the world, the Me Too movements and all the issues that we are discussing today. This piece is still very accurate.
Are you surprised to find that it's still so, it touches such a nerve?
It does, strangely, but it does.
Now, it's a fantastic thing to go from, obviously, the international attention you got in 2005 with this work at Venice to a major solo show at the Guggenheim Bilbao. What do you feel has propelled you to this point in time, sort of so rapidly, perhaps with such momentum?
Well, from that Biennale until here, a few years have gone. The truth is, I've been doing a lot of other shows that led me here, and it's not a jump. This kind of life, it's a career, it's something that you go on taking steps, okay?
Well, Versailles was one of the big steps along the way.
Yes, Versailles was one of them. Then I made Ajuda. Then I made the Portuguese Pavilion in Venice again. Then, you know, I made a solo show in Denmark, and I did Manchester show. So there's a lot, you know, happening through the years, and of course all of that led me here and led me to be able to show a great deal of the body of work that I've been doing for the last 20 years. So the truth is, it's important that you build a body of work which is strong enough to be chosen from and to produce a show like this. You have to have choices. You have to have enough pieces so that a curator can come and do his curating over the work. If you have a small body of work, it's impossible. You're always repeating yourself. And the truth is, the curators help you to have an overview over your work, and also to generate a new dialogue among the pieces and the spaces. So for that, you need to have a very wide range of works and different sculptures, so you can do that.
What new insights do you feel you get when you're looking with the curators over the work and choosing these pieces? Is it useful to see your work in through that prism again?
It is, because they have their own perspective and they talk about the work from a different angle from the one that I had in my mind when I did them. So in a way, it's very interesting because you're always growing and learning things that you never thought of before. So I think it's very interesting to have always somebody looking into your work and explaining you things that you never thought of it.
I suppose your work has carried on sort of expanding scale, expanding the kind of materials you work and the topics you'll explore.
The scale is not a very important thing for me. Curiously, the concept is more important than the scale. And the truth, when I'm talking about, you know, doing a chandelier with the tampons and everything, the scale of the tampon does matter to the scale of the chandelier. But the concept is to talk about how women of contemporary world have a role in society, how they see themselves, how they relate to marriage, to tradition. All those concepts is what is based in my starting point to produce something new. And then I found out the right materials that I can work with and to talk about things. And then on I discovered the scale. So it's in the process that I discovered the size of the piece. I don't wake up and I say, oh, I'm going to do a huge show of pots and pans and whatever. And I said, no, it's not that. I'm going to talk about something. And then I find the material, and then I find the technique to make it happen.
So the phones came from, it's more of a universal
Yeah, the phones is a symbol. In a way, I work with symbols. Tampon is universal, phones are universal, you know, pots are universal. So I'm not talking mirrors and masks are universal. So in a way, I'm talking about always universal things, symbols that can be read and interpreted by different cultures in different places in the world. That's why I also travel a lot. That's why I also can do these big shows, because I can communicate with different cultures. And coming from a very particular place in Europe, I can communicate with different cultures because it's the symbols I'm talking about and concepts.
Do you feel that the world is a very different place for a female artist now than it was perhaps in 2005?
I think so, yeah. I think that a lot has happened, and from my experience, which I'm not talking about what I heard or what I see, I'm talking about what happened to me. And the truth is, I could do I was part of the first Biennale ever curated by women. You know, Maria del Corral is much older women than Rosa Martinez, and both of them could be the first women curated in 125 years of Biennale. And so we think, okay, 125 years, there was no women, what happened to the world? But I was part of that moment. And then I was the first artist woman exhibiting in Versailles and thinking, why didn't they invite somebody before me? And you're always asking, why me? And the me too, in my case, is why me? And I was like, okay, it's because the world is changing. It's because now I have the chance to make it. And that means that the world is changing. And that's really good, because it wasn't good before. And now actually, I feel that something is really happening.
There's also talk of the courage. You're said to be fearless in the challenges that you step up to. And that must be, you know, one of the factors that enables you to step into the limelight at a time like this, when people are saying, okay, let's have more women artists. And you're absolutely ready for that moment.
Well, that means alignment. And I think people that change the world, they need to be aligned with it. Whatever they do, in whatever profession, whatever means, you have to align yourself with your time, with your space, with your country, with your path, with your thrive. So I think the alignment thing is important. If you are aligned, you go with the flow. In that sense, I'm very Taoist, okay? You go with the current and you go with the winds. And so I'm playing my role in this moment, in time.
And where do you think the winds might blow you next?
I don't know. I will just follow it.
I wish you bon voyage. Thank you.
Thank you.